A young college student vanished without a trace in a small town in the state of Iowa, setting off a large-scale search that stretched on for weeks, where every clue and every detail that surfaced not only united a community in a shared effort, but also unintentionally turned the case into the center of intense debate and division across the entire nation. Mollie Tibbetts was born on May 8, 1998, in San Francisco, California, the daughter of Laura Tibbetts and Rob Tibbetts, and she grew up alongside her older brother Jake and younger brother Scott in a stable household where her early needs were well provided for. Mollie's childhood unfolded under close parental care and with a strong, positive start in her education. However, when Mollie was in second grade, her family experienced a significant turning point when her parents decided to end their marriage after a long period of consideration. The separation was not the result of any issue involving Mollie or her brothers, but rather the realization that each parent needed to follow a different path. After the divorce, Rob Tibbetts continued to maintain a close relationship with his children, while in 2007, Laura Tibbetts moved Mollie, Jake, and Scott to Brooklyn, a small town in the state of Iowa where she herself had grown up, marking a major turning point in Mollie's life and in the life of the entire family. Brooklyn, Iowa was where Laura Tibbetts had grown up, and returning there gave Mollie the chance to spend her teenage years in an environment familiar to her maternal family. Even so, the transition was far from easy for Mollie, Jake, and Scott, as it was not merely a geographical move but a significant emotional turning point following the changes within their family. Throughout this period, Rob Tibbetts continued to maintain a close relationship with his children, staying in frequent contact and supporting them whenever possible, even though he could not be physically present on a daily basis. Brooklyn is located about 70 miles east of the city of Des Moines, and is a small town with a population of roughly 1,400 people, where life moves slowly and peacefully, standing in stark contrast to the bustle of San Francisco. Life there was closely tied to the vast stretches of cornfields, and over time, from days to months, and then to years, Mollie and her brothers gradually adapted, found stability, and fully integrated into their new town. Mollie attended Brooklyn Guernsey Malcolm Middle School and High School, commonly referred to simply as Brooklyn High School, and during her years there, her personal identity gradually became clearly defined. She was described by friends and teachers as open, sociable, and naturally able to connect with others, often serving as a calming and unifying presence in the relationships around her. Mollie showed enthusiasm in both academics and extracurricular life, carried a positive attitude, and was easy to like by those who interacted with her. In 2015, while attending Brooklyn High School, Mollie met Dalton Jack, a senior student with a strong interest in sports. Their first encounter took place on an evening in late October, after a school football game, when Dalton and a friend were sitting in a car and were approached by a small group of younger students, including Mollie. After a brief conversation, the two exchanged contact information and gradually developed a relationship through simple outings such as dinners and movie nights, before officially becoming a couple not long afterward. The relationship between Mollie and Dalton continued to develop steadily over time, and about 2 years after they first met, Mollie left Brooklyn to pursue a major in psychology at the University of Iowa, while still maintaining her relationship with Dalton. During this period, Mollie lived and studied in Iowa City, while Dalton remained in Brooklyn working in the construction field, a job with an irregular schedule that depended heavily on ongoing projects. Despite the challenges of a long-distance relationship, the two continued to see each other frequently, most weekends and even on weekdays when circumstances allowed, showing that the distance did not significantly affect their bond. Mollie's first year at college passed quickly and without any signs of trouble, and near the end of May 2018, she returned to Brooklyn for the summer break. During this time, Mollie kept a consistent daily routine, working during the day at a summer camp for children at Grinnell Regional Medical Center, spending her evenings reviewing material for the upcoming academic year, and maintaining her habit of going for a run after sunset on most nights. During her summer break in Brooklyn, Mollie alternated her time between her mother's home and Dalton's house, located in a residential area on the west side of town. Unlike Mollie, who was on school break, Dalton continued working nearly every weekday due to the nature of his construction job, with a schedule that depended on specific projects and often required travel either locally or across the state of Iowa. On July 18, 2018, during the height of the Iowa summer, Mollie was staying at Dalton's house, where he lived with his brother and several pets. While both men were away for work, the project Dalton was assigned to at that time was located along U.S. Highway 61 near the Dubuque area, more than 130 miles from Brooklyn, requiring him to remain away from home for the rest of the week. And Mollie agreed to stay behind to look after the house and care for the animals during that period. The weather that day was especially oppressive, with temperatures reaching around 88 degrees Fahrenheit. So Mollie spent most of her time indoors with her laptop, waiting until the outside heat eased later in the evening. That day unfolded according to Mollie's usual routine, with no signs suggesting anything out of the ordinary. While at the house, she used her phone to stay in contact with Dalton through Snapchat, looked for a light snack, and browsed social media platforms such as Twitter while waiting for the weather to cool down. As the sun began to set and the temperature dropped after a long, hot day, Mollie decided to follow her normal evening running routine. At around 7:30 p.m., she left her laptop open inside the house, sent Dalton a photo before heading out, changed into her running clothes, and left the house, setting off toward her familiar running routes along the quiet roads near the surrounding cornfields to complete her daily exercise. However, Mollie did not return to the house that evening, and from that moment on, all contact with her was completely cut off. Dalton did not receive any response to the messages he sent to Mollie throughout the night, but at first he assumed she might be busy or had gone to sleep early. By the following morning, when his subsequent messages still went unanswered, Dalton began to feel increasingly concerned and reached out to Mollie's friends to ask whether anyone had heard from her, only to learn that none of them had been able to make contact either. Mollie's social media accounts showed no new activity, a stark contrast to her usual daily habits. The level of concern escalated further when Dalton received a call from a supervisor at Mollie's workplace, asking why she had not shown up for her shift. As Mollie was known for being punctual and had never missed work there before, her unexplained absence, combined with the complete breakdown in communication, made it clear that something was not right. Even though at that time no one could determine where Mollie was or what had happened to her, because her disappearance ran completely contrary to Mollie's normal habits and personality. The prolonged silence quickly became alarming to Dalton, her family, and her friends. By the end of the day, local authorities had been notified and began coordinating with the community to carry out initial search efforts, during which missing person flyers were widely distributed throughout Brooklyn and surrounding areas, and nearby rural zones and roadways were canvassed as thoroughly as possible. Alongside the local response, volunteers from across the United States joined the search, while those unable to be physically present contributed information, financial support, and shared alerts through online platforms. Not long afterward, Rob Tibbetts flew from California to Iowa to take part directly in the search for his daughter. However, conditions on the ground presented serious challenges, as Iowa was entering the peak of summer, with prolonged heat and dense cornfields encircling the town that severely limited visibility. In addition, Brooklyn's proximity to Interstate 80 raised concerns that Mollie may have left the area within a short window of time. forcing the search to expand beyond the town itself.
Developing story, the search for Mollie. The search is widening with these missing person posters now being circulated throughout the Midwest. Good afternoon, everyone. Authorities and the family say there's no new information to share, but they're keeping up the search. University of Iowa student 20-year-old Mollie Tibbetts went missing last Wednesday in Brooklyn. She was dog sitting and was last seen by a neighbor going out for a jog wearing shorts, a sports bra, and running shoes. Authorities are not ruling out foul play. People have been distributing flyers, posting them throughout the state and into Minnesota. The family posted on Facebook that the investigative team has been working on many fronts, but we are at that point where results take time, and we'll keep you updated.
At that point, no one could determine where Mollie was, and the only confirmed lead came from a family acquaintance who reported seeing Mollie running east of the town of Brooklyn on the evening she left the house. Beyond this single account, investigators had no additional concrete information to further narrow the search area, leaving efforts largely stalled as days turned into weeks without results. The reward for any credible information about Mollie's whereabouts was repeatedly increased and eventually reached nearly $400,000. At the same time, investigators received thousands of tips from the public and launched an interactive website to help people review Mollie's potential running routes, while also analyzing data from the fitness tracking device she used during her runs to identify her last known direction of travel. Despite the growing scale of the search and nationwide community involvement, these efforts did not produce any clear breakthrough during that period. In the weeks that followed Mollie Tibbetts' loss of contact, law enforcement agencies across multiple states worked together to investigate hundreds of related leads, including a reported sighting of Mollie at a truck stop in Kearney, Missouri, which was later determined to be inaccurate after verification. Over the course of the investigation, authorities received more than 2,300 tips from the public and conducted more than 500 interviews in an effort to reconstruct timelines and determine Mollie's possible movements. Because Mollie was known to regularly use a Fitbit activity tracker during her runs, investigators also analyzed data from the device to help identify her final route of travel. Although at that stage, these efforts had yet to produce any definitive results. It was not until mid-August 2018 that a significant lead related to Mollie's disappearance finally emerged, when a neighbor living in the northeastern part of Brooklyn reviewed footage from a personal home security camera system and noticed a series of unusual images. The footage was turned over to authorities, and subsequent analysis quickly drew investigators' attention. According to confirmation, the camera system was running approximately 3 minutes behind real time, and during the corresponding window at around 7:45 p.m. on July 18, 2018, the video captured what was believed to be Mollie running along Boundary Street. Less than 20 seconds later, a black Chevrolet Malibu with chrome side mirrors, door handles, and wheel rims entered the frame and traveled in the same direction as the runner. At first, the vehicle's presence was not considered suspicious, however. The same car was recorded by another nearby camera just seconds later on a neighboring roadway. Then, less than 2 minutes after that, at approximately 7:51 p.m. adjusted time, the Chevrolet Malibu appeared again on the original camera, this time turning around and traveling back in the direction of the runner, before being captured once more at around 8:07 p.m., still moving in the same direction but at a noticeably faster speed, making this sequence of movements a focal point of the investigation. The account given by Christina Stewart, who reported seeing Mollie running east of Brooklyn along Highway 385 that evening, aligned in timing with the images of a runner captured on the security camera footage, increasing the likelihood that the individual shown in the video was indeed Mollie. This overlap between eyewitness testimony and visual evidence caused the black Chevrolet Malibu that appeared repeatedly in the area during that time frame to become a central focus of the investigation. Investigators moved quickly to identify the vehicle, and given that Brooklyn is a small town with a population of roughly 1,400 people, locating a car with such distinctive features did not take long. Just one day after the footage was analyzed, a deputy on patrol spotted the vehicle traveling on the road, followed it until the driver voluntarily pulled over, and then approached to determine that the car was in the possession of the individual driving it, a man known at that time as John Budd. When questioned about Mollie's disappearance, John stated that he knew nothing about her and had no connection to her, and at that time, with no legal grounds to detain him, he was allowed to leave. However, investigators' interest in John did not end there, because just 2 days later, officers went to the dairy farm where he worked and noticed that he was driving a different vehicle, later identified as belonging to his girlfriend, rather than the Chevrolet Malibu seen earlier. This detail raised further suspicion, although at that point, investigators still had no direct evidence linking John to Mollie's disappearance. Instead of taking coercive action, they invited John to the local police station to provide additional information, a request he was not legally required to accept, but ultimately agreed to. During several hours of questioning with investigators, John eventually made statements acknowledging his direct involvement in what had occurred on the evening Mollie left the house. John Budd was not actually the man's real name, but rather an alias he used while living locally, while his legal name was Christian Bahena Rivera, a 24-year-old man at the time of the incident who lived and worked in a rural area of Poweshiek County just outside the town of Brooklyn, Iowa. Christian was originally from the state of Guerrero, Mexico, came to the United States as a minor, and had been living in Iowa for several years before the incident occurred, during which time he worked at various farms, including the Yarrabee farm near Brooklyn, where he was employed when authorities first took notice of him. Returning to the interview at the police station, as investigators continued to question him and clarify the timeline, Christian admitted that he had seen Mollie on the evening she left the house and stated that he followed her while she was running. According to his account, he approached Mollie and attempted to speak with her while running alongside her, but received no response. And as he continued to follow her, Mollie took out her phone and warned that she would contact law enforcement if he did not leave. After which, Christian claimed he lost control and no longer had clear awareness of what happened next. On August 21, 2018, after more than 10 hours of continuous cooperation with investigators, Christian agreed to lead law enforcement to a remote agricultural area in Poweshiek County, Iowa, not far from the town of Brooklyn. When officers left their vehicles and moved deeper into the area, they noticed an unusual gap between rows of corn, and there, the gravest fears of the search were confirmed when they discovered Mollie Tibbetts lying within the field. The victim was found in a state indicating she had been there for some time before being located. During his interactions with investigators, Christian admitted that after approaching Mollie while she was running, and after she warned that she would contact law enforcement, he engaged in actions that resulted in a severe tragedy and then transported her to the cornfield. Forensic findings later indicated that Mollie had sustained multiple serious injuries caused by a dangerous object, and it was these injuries that left her with no chance of survival. News that Mollie had been found spread quickly, sending a profound shock through her family, friends, those who knew her, and the wider community that had taken part in the search for weeks. The long stretch without answers, which had kept the town of Brooklyn and the public across the United States in a constant state of anxiety, came to an end with a heavy and devastating outcome, leaving a deep sense of loss for everyone involved. As details surrounding the case gradually became public, the reaction extended beyond grief alone and evolved into intense debate, particularly as the case was swiftly drawn into broader political and social discussions on a national level, moving far beyond the boundaries of a criminal investigation alone. On August 22, 2018, Christian Bahena Rivera was formally charged in connection with the serious case directly involving Mollie Tibbetts, and amid concerns that he might flee the jurisdiction. The initial bond set at $1 million was increased to $5 million. From that point forward, Mollie's case entered an entirely different phase, no longer viewed as a missing person investigation, but as a major criminal proceeding, triggering a series of complex legal developments that continued to unfold both within the detention system and in the public sphere. While investigative efforts and prosecutorial preparations steadily expanded, in the legal proceedings that followed, Rivera entered a plea of not guilty at his next court appearance and formally recanted the statements he had initially given during interviews with investigators. At the same time, authorities continued to collect and analyze physical evidence connected to the case, including the black Chevrolet Malibu Rivera had been using, which was seized and subjected to extensive forensic examination. That analysis revealed the presence of biological traces in the rear compartment of the vehicle and on several exterior areas. And comparative testing showed those traces were consistent with Mollie Tibbetts' biological profile, reinforcing the conclusion that she had been inside the car on the night the incident occurred. Even so, the path to trial was prolonged by multiple procedural factors, including intense public attention that led to delays and a change of venue to ensure safety and impartiality. By August 2019, Rivera's defense team filed a lengthy motion seeking to suppress statements obtained during interrogation, arguing that required procedural rights had not been properly communicated at the time, rendering the initial statements inadmissible in court. After a request for additional preparation time was granted, the trial was pushed into 2020 before broader court proceedings were disrupted by the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. On May 17, 2021, after repeated delays caused by prolonged legal procedures and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, the trial of Christian Bahena Rivera officially began. In court, the defense focused on arguing that the initial investigation had failed to fully observe the defendant's procedural rights before charges were brought, and that certain actions by authorities had exceeded permissible limits, resulting in statements that were not given voluntarily. When these arguments failed to gain traction, the defense shifted strategy by raising questions about Dalton Jack, Mollie's boyfriend, suggesting that their past romantic relationship could have been connected to the case. This line of argument was quickly countered by clear alibi evidence, as Dalton was confirmed to have been working at a location nearly 2 hours away from Brooklyn at the time Mollie left the house, with multiple co-workers able to verify his schedule, and with no factual basis indicating any reasonable motive to link him to the incident. During the trial, Christian Bahena Rivera chose to take the stand and testify before the jury, and from that point forward, his account differed significantly from the statements he had previously given to investigators. Rivera presented a new version of events, claiming that 2 unknown men had appeared at his residence, forced him to drive around town until he encountered Mollie, then carried out the serious incident and compelled him to take them to the cornfield, while issuing threats to ensure his silence. However, this narrative conflicted with the evidence and data already collected, including the fact that Rivera had personally led law enforcement to the location where Mollie was found. The security camera footage documenting the vehicle's movements, and the biological traces recovered from the car he had been using. Based on the totality of the evidence and testimony presented in court, on May 28, 2021, after approximately 7 hours of deliberation, the jury reached its final verdict, finding Rivera criminally responsible at the highest level for the case involving Mollie Tibbetts. With the decision announced early that afternoon, while the defendant showed no notable reaction upon hearing the court's declaration,
At this time, Mr. Bahina, I'm going to ask that you rise along with your attorneys, please. And I would ask that the court attendant read the jury's verdict.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Christian Bahina Rivera, guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree.
Thank you, Carrie. You may be seated, please. Juror number 1, for the record, is this your true and accurate verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 2, is this your true and accurate verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 4, is this your true and accurate verdict?
Yes.
Number 1, we will order a pre-sentence investigation report to be prepared and submitted by the Judicial District. Number 2, no bond pending sentencing. And 3, sentencing will take place at 9:30 a.m. July 15th, 2021. Sentencing will take place in Montezuma, Iowa.
After the verdict was delivered, the case saw one additional notable legal development when Christian Bahina Rivera was initially scheduled to be sentenced on July 15, 2021, however. Shortly before that date, the defense filed a motion requesting a retrial, alleging that 2 of Mollie's childhood friends were connected to the incident, an assertion that was not supported by any credible evidence. The retrial request was ultimately denied in full by the judge, but the filing resulted in the formal sentencing being postponed. Ultimately, on August 30, 2021, Christian Bahina Rivera was sentenced to the maximum penalty permitted under Iowa law, receiving life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. According to Iowa Department of Corrections records as of May 8, 2025, Rivera is currently serving his sentence at the Iowa State Penitentiary, located in Fort Madison, Iowa. After Mollie Tibbetts was found, the local community and those who had taken part in the search for weeks beforehand organized memorial events, including a gathering of hundreds of people at the University of Iowa to honor and remember her life. Among them, many individuals who had personally joined search efforts in the rural areas surrounding Brooklyn during the height of the summer. In the years that followed, an annual running event has been held in Brooklyn, Iowa, drawing participants from across the United States with the purpose of remembering Mollie Tibbetts and raising funds to support pediatric mental health services at a regional children's hospital. During memorial gatherings, Mollie's family urged those in attendance to remember her spirit of optimism, her care for others, and the values she lived by throughout her life. As this case comes to a close, what remains is not only a legal record that has reached its conclusion, but also a clear lesson about the importance of vigilance in everyday life, the value of paying attention to unusual signs, and the need to respond promptly when something falls outside familiar routines. The story of Mollie Tibbetts reminds us that behind every true crime documentary, there is not just a timeline, evidence, or a verdict, but a real person, a family enduring lasting loss, and far-reaching effects on an entire community. Thank you for taking the time to follow today's story. If you would like to leave a message of remembrance for the victim, please share a comment below as a way to ensure she is not forgotten. And consider sharing this video so more people can understand and reflect on the lessons of this case. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the True Crime Documentary channel to continue following future cases with us. Goodbye, and we'll see you in the next video.